I never thought it would come to this. That's what I kept telling myself day after day as I watched it unfold. Each decision, each glance, each fleeting touch felt like it was leading us further into something we couldn't undo, and yet I never stopped it. The guilt, the shame, the fear, it was all there, creeping in the background of everything I did. But still, I couldn't let go. I couldn't walk away from it, no matter how much I knew it was wrong. The affair that should have never happened started with a simple conversation, and I never saw it coming. I had always been a creature of routine, the predictable path, the comfortable life, the relationships that were safe and secure. My partner and I had been together for years. We had our ups and downs, but nothing ever seemed to threaten the stability of what we had built. Or so I thought. When you've been with someone for as long as I had, it's easy to get complacent, to let the small things slip. Love becomes less of a feeling and more of a routine. Kisses that are no longer passionate, touches that are more out of habit than desire, conversations that are limited to surface-level chatter. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the same either. And somewhere, in the quiet gaps between our conversations, the idea of wanting something more started to grow. I didn't realize it at first. How could I? I had no idea that the shift in my relationship was more than just the result of time passing. It was a slow erosion, the gradual decay of a bond that had once felt unbreakable. But it wasn't until he walked into my life that I truly recognized what I had been missing. It happened at work. I didn't even know his name at first. He was new, just starting in our department. A quiet man with a calm demeanor and a sharp mind, he didn't make waves, didn't seek attention. But somehow, without even trying, he found a way to draw me in. He didn't flirt with me. He didn't need to. There was something about the way he listened, the way he asked questions, the way he looked at me as if I had something valuable to say, something that drew me in. It started with simple exchanges. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that would have set off alarm bells in anyone's mind. We were just two colleagues talking about work, about projects, about deadlines. And yet, somewhere between those conversations, the connection began. He was different from my partner in ways I didn't even fully understand. There was an intensity to him, an attention to detail that seemed to captivate me. And when he smiled at me, really smiled at me, something in me stirred that had been dormant for years. I should have stopped it then. I should have seen it for what it was, a dangerous path that would only lead to destruction, but I didn't. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't even mine, really. It was the circumstances, the way life had shifted for me and for him, how we had both found ourselves at a point where we were looking for something more, something beyond the confines of our routines. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, he suggested we grab a drink. A casual drink, nothing too serious, just a way to unwind after the stress of the day. I had hesitated, telling myself that it was harmless, that it wasn't anything more than two colleagues unwinding. But deep down, I knew it wasn't harmless. I knew that what was starting between us wasn't just about the drinks. It was about the way we looked at each other, the unspoken connection that was building in the space between us. When I arrived at the bar, he was already there, sitting at a corner table with a drink in front of him. He stood up when he saw me, his expression lighting up just slightly, as though he had been waiting for this moment. I felt a flutter in my chest, and I cursed myself for it. Why was I nervous? Why did his presence affect me so much? "Hey," he said, his voice low and warm, like he had known me for years. "Glad you made it." I sat down, forcing myself to keep my distance, to remind myself that this was just a casual drink, nothing more. But as the evening wore on, the lines blurred. We talked about everything, our jobs, our personal lives, the things that made us tick. He was intelligent, thoughtful, and unexpectedly funny. The more we talked, the more I realized how easy it was to be with him. There was none of the awkwardness I had expected, none of the tension you usually get when you meet someone new. With him, everything felt natural, effortless. As the night went on, I could feel myself relaxing, feeling the weight of my own life slip away. I was no longer thinking about my partner, no longer thinking about the routine I had built around myself. In that moment, it was just him and me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. I felt alive. "I'm glad we did this," he said, his voice quiet as he took a sip of his drink. "I've enjoyed talking to you. You've got this energy, this spark." I could feel the heat rise in my cheeks. I hadn't been complimented like that in so long. My partner, for all his good qualities, had stopped noticing me, stopped looking at me like I was special. But this stranger, this man, was looking at me like I mattered, and in that moment I realized how much I missed it. "Thank you," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't expect to feel like this tonight." He leaned in slightly, his gaze focused on me in a way that made my heart race. "Like what?" "Like I matter," I said quietly, surprised by the words, but they were true. "Like I'm more than just the person who gets up and goes to work every day." His eyes softened. "You are more than that." And just like that, I knew. I knew that this wasn't just about a drink. This wasn't just about two people talking. This was about something else, something deeper, something that I hadn't even realized I had been craving. It was dangerous, and I knew it. But the part of me that still felt alive in that moment, the part of me that had been starved for attention, for affection, couldn't stop it. I didn't know how we got to the point where we were sitting close, our knees brushing, our breaths quickening. But somehow we had. The connection was undeniable. It was like a spark that couldn't be extinguished, and I couldn't fight it any longer. "I shouldn't be doing this," I said, my voice shaky as I pulled away slightly, though my body was still drawn to him. "I'm with someone." "I know," he replied, his voice soft, but there was an edge of desperation in it, like he too knew we were crossing a line. "But I can't stop thinking about you, and I think you feel it too." I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. This wasn't me. This wasn't who I was. I wasn't the kind of person who betrayed others, who lied, who acted out of impulse. But in that moment, all I could think about was the way he was looking at me, the way his hand brushed against mine, the way my heart raced in a way it hadn't in years. Without thinking, I leaned in and our lips met. It was brief, a soft kiss that barely lasted a few seconds, but it felt like everything. The world disappeared around us, and for those few seconds, there was only him and me. But the moment it ended, reality came crashing back, and guilt flooded over me like a wave. I pulled away, my breath shallow, my heart pounding in my chest. "I'm sorry," I whispered, my voice trembling. "This shouldn't have happened." He didn't say anything for a moment, just sat there, his gaze fixed on me. But it did. The truth of it hit me harder than anything else. It did happen, and now we couldn't go back. The damage had been done, and I had crossed a line that I could never uncross. "I have to go," I said, standing up quickly, feeling the weight of everything I had just done pressing down on me. "I'm sorry." He didn't stop me as I left, and I didn't expect him to. We both knew that it was over, that this was something that shouldn't have happened in the first place, and yet I couldn't forget it. I couldn't forget how it felt, how he made me feel. I returned home to my partner, the one who had been waiting for me, the one who didn't know what I had just done. I couldn't tell them. I couldn't admit it to myself, let alone to them. I was trapped, caught between the life I had built and the secret I was carrying. And that was when the guilt truly hit me. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about everything that had led up to it. The neglect, the longing, the unspoken desires that had festered for so long. The affair that should have never happened had changed everything. I had betrayed someone I loved, and now I had to live with the consequences of that choice. But what hurt more was that, deep down, I didn't know if I regretted it. And that was the part I couldn't face. The weeks that followed felt like a blur, a storm of confusion, guilt, and self-loathing. I could still feel the warmth of his lips on mine, the way his touch had ignited something in me that I had buried so deeply. It was like I had opened a door that I couldn't close, a door to something wild, something forbidden, something that made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. But at what cost? I kept telling myself that I had made a mistake, that this wasn't me, that I had lost control for a moment. But as the days passed, the ache didn't go away. The more I tried to suppress it, the more it grew, pulling me deeper into a spiral of guilt and regret. I had done something unforgivable, something that had forever changed the dynamics of my relationship with my partner, and what hurt the most was that I didn't even know how to fix it. Every time I looked at my partner, I saw the person I had hurt, the person I had betrayed, and I couldn't bear it. I felt like a stranger in my own life, disconnected from the very person I had once loved with all my heart. The distance between us, once so small, had now become an ocean. The guilt was suffocating. It haunted me at night when I closed my eyes, replaying every moment of the affair in vivid detail, wondering if I had somehow ruined everything beyond repair. The shame of what I had done felt like a weight I couldn't shake. I tried to push it down, tried to bury it under the surface of my everyday life, but it was always there, lurking, waiting to rise to the surface again. I had tried to forget him. I had tried to go back to my normal routine, to pretend that nothing had changed. But that was the problem. It had changed. I had changed. The world I had carefully constructed around myself, the one that felt so safe and predictable, was suddenly broken. The affair, the secret I had kept from everyone, including myself, had shattered the illusion of control I had so desperately clung to. I was no longer the person I thought I was. I wasn't the person I had told myself I would be. And that was the hardest pill to swallow. But I couldn't just run from it. I couldn't keep pretending that it hadn't happened. I knew that sooner or later I would have to face the truth. And facing the truth meant confronting not only my actions, but the consequences of those actions. One day, after weeks of internal turmoil, I finally mustered the courage to talk to him again, the man who had somehow become both my biggest regret and my deepest temptation. I didn't know what I expected from the conversation. I didn't know if I was seeking closure, validation, or just a chance to make sense of the chaos I had created. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending that this wasn't real, that this wasn't something that had altered the course of my life. I messaged him. "We need to talk." It was simple, and yet it felt like the weight of the world was behind those words. I hit send, knowing there was no going back. The moment I reached out to him again, I was reopening a door I should have closed a long time ago. He responded quickly, almost immediately. "I know, when and where." We agreed to meet at the same cafe where it had all started. The place where we had first shared that innocent conversation that had sparked something I should have left untouched. I didn't know what I was expecting, but as I walked into the cafe that day, I knew that whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. He was already there, sitting at a corner table, looking as calm and composed as always. But I could see the tension in his posture, the subtle way he glanced up when I walked in. He had changed too. The man I had once known seemed distant, like a shadow of the person I had shared so much with. And yet, I couldn't deny the pull that remained between us, the same undeniable attraction that had led to everything. "I'm sorry," I said as I sat down across from him, my voice heavy with guilt. "I've been avoiding this for weeks." "I understand," he replied, his voice soft but steady. "I've been avoiding it too. But it was always going to come to this, wasn't it?" I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. I never meant for any of this to happen. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I didn't even know why it happened. He studied me for a moment, his eyes searching mine, as if trying to understand what I was saying. "You don't have to explain it. I get it. I know why it happened. I think we were both looking for something that we weren't getting in our own lives, but I don't think either of us thought about the consequences. Not really." I felt a pang in my chest, and I looked away, unable to meet his gaze. He was right. We had both been selfish. We had both made choices that had consequences we didn't fully understand. And now, we were both paying the price. "I don't know what to do," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if I can." "I don't think we can fix it," he said quietly. "Not the way we want to. But that doesn't mean we can't learn from it. That doesn't mean we can't make better choices going forward." I looked at him, the weight of his words settling in. But what about everything else? What about my partner? What about the life I've built? I've ruined everything. You didn't ruin everything, he said softly. You made a mistake, a big one, yes, but mistakes can be lessons, and lessons can help us grow, but only if we let them. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that there was a way to make things right. But the truth was, I didn't know if I could ever make up for what I had done. The affair had been a betrayal, not just to my partner, but to myself. I had allowed myself to become someone I didn't recognize, someone I didn't like, and no amount of words could change the fact that I had crossed a line that I couldn't uncross. I don't know if I can ever forgive myself, I said quietly, tears welling up in my eyes. How do you forgive yourself for something like this? He reached across the table, placing a hand over mine, his touch gentle. You don't have to forgive yourself all at once. You take it one step at a time. You face what you've done, and you learn from it. That's all anyone can do. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to take his words and make them my truth. But deep down, I knew that the hardest part was just beginning. The affair that should have never happened had already changed everything, and the road ahead would be long, filled with difficult decisions and painful moments. I need to fix my life, I said, pulling my hand back, not able to bear the intimacy of the moment. I need to go back to the person I used to be. I need to stop running from everything. He nodded, his expression softening. And I need to let you go. I think that's the only way for you to do that. You've got to make things right with the people who matter. The finality of his words hit me like a punch. It was over. The affair was over. He was right. We had to let go. There was nothing more to say, nothing more to do. I had made my choice, and now I had to live with it. I'll never forget this, I said, my voice trembling as I stood up. But I don't think I can ever be the same after this. He stood up too, his face filled with understanding. Neither can I, but that's life. We learn, we grow, and we move forward. I think that's all we can do. I turned and walked out of the cafe, feeling the weight of my choices settle into my chest. I had crossed a line, and there was no going back. But maybe, just maybe, there was a way to rebuild, to learn from the mistakes I had made, and to start again. The affair had been a mistake, one that should have never happened. But it was also a lesson, and the lesson was clear. The truth is, I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if I could ever make things right. But I knew one thing for sure. The affair that should have never happened had taught me that the only way to move forward was to face the truth, to own my mistakes, and to finally be honest with myself.